We are now on the countdown to my favorite food-centered holiday that's less than 2 weeks away, and that's Cinco de Mayo. Most of you guys know that Mexican cuisine is one of my favorites, and I love Cinco de Mayo because you can eat all of the tacos, fajitas, guacamole, carne asada, pico de gallo, and margaritas to your heart's content. But today I'm adding to that list with a classic recipe, and honestly, it's my personal favorite when it comes to tender, juicy, and flavorful meat, and that's carnitas. I'll show you how to make carnitas super easy in the slow cooker, and then transfer it to the oven where we'll crisp it up for those tasty, crispy edges. And because we're gonna have so much carnitas left over today, I thought I would show you how you can quickly assemble carnitas tacos. It's going to be a delicious filming day today, so let's get started. You'll need a 4-pound pork shoulder, which is also known as a pork butt, and you do want it marbled with a little bit of fat, as that'll keep it juicy in the slow cooker. You'll also need a few key spices that are prevalent in Mexican cuisine, and that includes 1 tablespoon of oregano, 1 tablespoon of cumin, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and a half a teaspoon of black pepper. Give that a quick stir to combine, and then you'll generously rub this on all sides of the pork shoulder, including the bottom, because you want every inch of this pork to be coated in flavor. Once that's done, transfer your pork shoulder to a slow cooker. In addition to our spice blend, we'll add a few more key ingredients that'll infuse flavor into the pork while it simmers overnight. The first is an onion, so dice that up and add it to the slow cooker. I just dump the onion on top, but I do try to get it down the sides so it can simmer in all of the juices that are formed. Then you'll want to de-seed and dice a small jalapeno pepper. My supermarket was out of jalapenos, so I'm using a serrano pepper, which is a little bit more spicy, but either works. To de-seed the pepper, just slice it in half and then use a spoon to scrape out the seeds. Then finely dice it. I like it finely diced, as little bits will end up in the final carnitas, but if you want some of the flavor with a little less spice, just place the halves in the slow cooker so that they can simmer in the juices, but then you can remove them at the end. Next, you'll need 4 garlic cloves, but because I've got 1 monster-sized garlic clove today, I'm using 3. Just give the garlic a good smash with your knife to remove the skin, and then mince the garlic straight into the slow cooker. To help tenderize our meat and add a little sweetness, you'll need the juice from 1 orange. You can use one of those handheld squeezers, but because I have the weakest wrists known to man, I love my little tabletop juicer. Add that to the slow cooker, and then make sure all of the garlic and jalapeno gets down the sides as well. Now, when it comes to slow cooker carnitas, just like my regular pulled pork recipe, I do recommend slow cooking for 8 to 10 hours. Yes, you can cook it on high for 4 to 6 hours, but I find that it's just not as tender or flavorful, so it's best to plan ahead and let the slow cooker work its magic overnight. When you take the lid off the slow cooker, it'll smell amazing, and you'll want to use a spatula to get under the meat, because if you try to remove it with just 2 forks, odds are it will fall apart on you. Place the pork on a cutting board and then use 2 forks to shred it. I use 2 serving forks for this job as they're bigger and easier, but the meat should literally just fall apart. At this point, your carnitas is done, and you can certainly enjoy it right away just like this, but if you love it with those crispy edges, then let's move on to the next step. There's 2 ways to crisp up carnitas, and that's in a pan on the stove or in the oven under the broiler. I prefer the latter, as I can get it done in 1 large batch on a sheet pan, whereas on the stove you usually have to work in a couple of smaller batches, but I have directions for both methods on my website. So turn on your top broiler and transfer the carnitas to a baking sheet. Try to get it in 1 layer, and then take about a cup or so of the leftover liquid from your slow cooker and pour that on top. This is how we'll get carnitas that is both crispy and juicy and tender. Place the carnitas in the oven and cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. Just keep an eye on it as you don't want to over crisp it and dry it out. When you remove the carnitas from the oven, you'll see that the top is now golden and crispy, and that's exactly what you want. Because then, when you use tongs to mix it all together, you'll get pieces that are crispy mixed with pieces that are nice and juicy and oh so flavorful. One of my favorite things to make with carnitas are carnitas tacos, and I'll show you how to assemble very simple street taco style. Just dice up some red onion, though you could use sweet yellow onion as well, and roughly chop cilantro, because what is a Mexican taco without cilantro? Then warm up some tortillas, and I'm using my homemade cassava flour tortillas, which I have a separate video for, and add them to a plate. Add a good amount of carnitas, a sprinkle of onion and cilantro, a squeeze of lime juice, and that's it. Delicious carnitas tacos. You could also add cotija cheese or lime crema for a little more creaminess, but really these tacos are all about the meat, so no matter how you assemble them, they're delicious. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up, share it with your family and friends, and I can't wait to see you whip up this recipe and many of my others for Cinco de Mayo.